creation, the forge of our soul. A circadian rhythm that persists no matter what. You listen closely and realize that the beat bellowing from the core of existence is not an organ, but a man. One man, whom, with the clash of his hammer, sends sparks into the digital universe that serve as stars to light our way into its depths. One man whose very existence molded shitposting, formed trolling, shaped harassment for decades to come. One man, one creature. For in his wake, we the landscape shall forever be changed by his hand. The hand that forged the first Sonic OC creation.
Actually, CJ, their pronouns are she, her. I feel just because she did bad things does not invalidate her trans identity.
Man, shut the f up. Chris Chan is what happens when you sensationalize mental illness and make entertainment out of a crisis. The tragic part, however, is that she never had a chance to get the help she needed to begin with. They were set up for failure since day one, with no real support system in place allowing them to free fall within not only the cracks of society, but the annals of the internet. Imagine the Joker movie, right? Except wow, no, oh my god, no, that's what we, no, fuck, we 100% did that to Chris Chan, oh my god. So let me be clear, when I say victim in this situation, I am not absolving them of blame. In fact, if I could be honest, Chris Chan is kind of a fucking monster. Her tyrannical history on the internet cascades over around 2 decades of thoroughly documented escapades by niggas who call themselves, and I shit you not, christorians, who have had such an infatuation with this walking what the fuck of a human being. They chronicled everything from her procedural conception to I can't say it, I'm kind of paranoid. She did something very bad to her mother.
So yeah, she's got really sensitive G-spot because apparently I don't believe that Mr. C, any of her past boyfriends and ex-husbands, they haven't really reached and hit her G-spot really
right.
Their dicks.
And the craziest part is that there's a very real history we ignored that foreshadowed these urges long before this point. Chris Chan is most widely known for her Sonichu comics, where she basically used her comic not as a creative outlet, but rather as a conduit to live out her fantasies based off her very skewed perception of life. She made people she didn't like in her personal life Saturday morning cartoon villains. She made people she did like immortalized heroes. One of her longest running plot lines was about how homosexuality has infected her town of Quickville, and the only way to stop the gay plague is to use her virgin blood as a catalyst for the cure. Yes, she is aggressively homophobic, and the incredibly odd sexual undertones of her comics reached a shocking head, no pun intended, when she made porn of a friend she knew in real life named Megan, who by the way did not consent to this in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And upon discovering said porn, she was both disturbed, disgusted, and felt violated, in which Chris Chan gaslighted her into not only forgiving them, but blaming her for their sexual urges. She was fired at one of her jobs for repeatedly verbally assaulting customers, including children and black people. And she would post flyers in her college looking for a boyfriend-free girl, what the fuck, which got her expelled at the time. Cannot blame the internet for any of that. Pepper sprayed a GameStop employee, ate their own semen on camera, sliced open their own taint, recorded themselves having sex with dolls. This is all not even remotely scratching the surface of the 20-year-long chronicled history of this real-time true crime series. I can't compile all of the just shit she has done. There is a reason why there is a 59-part documentary of this person on YouTube. And I promise you, not one single part is unnecessary. It's that bad. However, while we are not responsible for the actions committed by this individual, can I confidently say we played a major role in the deterioration of their mental stability? Absolutely. We as a collective, meaning every individual who has ever witnessed or directly interacted with Chris Chan, did not waste not one opportunity to absolutely ruin their day. I cannot begin to articulate the depths of depravity that have been unleashed solely on this single entity. From internet trolls so malicious they went as far as to hijack their entire identity in online skits to trick the mentally handicapped individual into believing she was being phased out of existence.
Hello? Hello, Ian. Yeah, I think you know who this is.
Look, Christian, stop this.
Look, you are giving me a lot of stress right now, and I am not going to handle it.
Look, Chris, listen, I was kind enough to accept that you said that you are actually a Christian W. Chandler. That you
Yes,
were born as a Christian.
my name is Christian Weston Chandler.
Alright, fine. Your name is Christian Weston Chandler, but the fact is you're born with that name. You are not the Christian Weston Chandler that was born as Christopher Weston Chandler, who was the original creator of Sonichu and Sonichu.
No.
Coerced her into giving up personal info about her residence and identity because people convinced her she had women interested in her, only for those same people to then revoke that interest. One troll going as far as to convince Chris that instead of a grown woman, they had been talking to a 13-year-old boy the entire time.
Talk with the fans for like 5 minutes, and then I'll tell you, please.
I'm
Actually,
sorry.
no. No, I'm ready to tell you.
Okay.
This whole time, Chris, you've been having for a 13-year-old boy, you sick
What?
Yeah, I'm a 13-year-old boy, Chris, and you've been having with me this entire time. I'm gonna give all your data to Chris Hansen, you fork. So you better get the out now before I report you to the feds.
Convincing her to surrender their Sonichu medallion just so they could upload videos destroying it to mock them. From the research I've done, albeit brief in comparison to the others, the only real relief Chris got from their otherwise miserable existence was their father, who passed away after warning them to seek help, and Sonic the Hedgehog. Even then, their parents were hoarders who had garbage stacks so high in their house it spilled into the front lawn. Their teachers didn't know how to handle children with mental instability issues, so they would hold them down and scream at them. They had a principal who was homosexual who would make them sit on their lap to taunt them, and they described the experience as being the strongest source of their homophobia to date. Man, she had a childhood bully who locked her under the house for hours. Their bathroom was covered in bacteria and mold. Her mom would lock her in the dark room when she didn't feel like raising her. And the way her father died, a heart attack. A heart attack Christian blamed solely on the trolls they claim gave their father the stress to have one in the first place. The way Christian articulated this, well...
When his father passed of a heart attack, Christian obliquely blamed it on the trolls and the stress they caused. Christian's comics grew increasingly more vindictive. Death became a far more common theme as time wore on, and his fantasies turned from power to excessive violence. This grew worse and worse until issue 10, where his most hated trolls are placed in a kangaroo court where they are immediately found guilty for somehow slighting Christian. Each of them is individually given their own torture scene. One is delivered an excruciatingly drawn-out death by electric chair, one is hung against the wall and shot by 3 different people, one is telekinetically twisted and deformed before his heart is exploded, and one has holes drilled into him by 2 other characters, one of whom is an extremely young child. The cycle of harassment came to a head on the 28th of October 2011, when he and his mother, Barbara, assaulted Michael Snyder, the owner of the game place, where Christian had been banned 3 years prior. Over the years, the Chandlers had come to believe that Michael Snyder was somehow behind the trolling attacks.
The paranoia and cognitive dissonance grew so aggressively, Christian and her mother went on to assault her former boss, who threw her out the game room where she worked at, having assumed he was one of the trolls behind these attacks.
Christian and Barbara drove to the store and began taking photos of the interior and its owner, who was outside the building when the photos were taken. The two hit Snyder with their van and then began driving away. They were quickly stopped by the police, however, and were sent to court where, in April of the following year, they were indicted. Barbara with failure to stop after an accident and assault on an officer, Christian with failure to stop, trespassing, and assault.
They hit this innocent man with their van and were subsequently arrested. And then their house burned down from an electrical fire due to all of the garbage that she started. Dog, I swear this is the plot to the Joker film. Not one point in any of this chaos did any of us go as far as to help this individual as we did to harm them. Then after we used them solely for entertainment, we leave them to die in obscurity, only for her to rise back into the internet spotlight like a phoenix for committing a crime against humanity. And did we try to take that 2021 progressive attitude and extend help then? Nope. Twitter niggas was making memes that made 4chan look like Tumblr. One line about sucking dick and the babies being aborted. Who the fuck? But you did not extend that support to your fellow transistrant. And us YouTube niggas, well, we make our videos where we make fun of the situation, put some mediocre live commentary over some Sonic Adventure 2 gameplay, get it? Cause this freak loves Sonic, and go, yes sir, he the fucking shit out of his dementia riddled mother, beat her doonies down something fierce. Dick was so good she woke up the next morning with memory loss. Get it? Please subscribe to me. I am a good person. Also, this video is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends, monetizing this nigga's pain for my gain. By the way, I follow Christ. I mean, the shit is heartbreaking, bro. We made sport out of a spaz. Her life was falling apart, being meticulously preyed upon by arguably more deranged individuals who saw her entire existence as satire. Which brings me to my next point. One of the inevitable truths to us being dynamic as human beings is that what is calm to the spider is chaos to the fly. Imagine you were just brutally murdered and robbed of life. What is undoubtedly the worst day of your entire existence is white noise on a nigga's TV while he's f***ing a bitch. You were stabbed 42 times and were found missing your eyes and tongue. And this nigga just yawned and changed the channel because it was a boring episode of First 48. The difference between your day and my day, perspective and circumstance. We saw a bastion of sick entertainment sensationalizing an individual who should have been discovered by a team of psychiatric professionals and not f***ing 4chan. Our meddling only served to rapidly increase the deterioration of this individual with no course correction on her part nor the part of us as onlookers and active participants in her downward spiral. We abused this person and exploited them thoroughly. And while their actions were in turn another form of evil, we cannot act as if we didn't facilitate an environment where evil was the more likely outcome. We did not care because it did not affect us. It only affected her. Because to acknowledge this individual was never mentally well to begin with is to acknowledge we failed on our part to be socially responsible when interacting with this individual. And trust me, we failed tremendously. However, as I say this, I have to say something that is also true. Morality is subjective, purely subjective. We are not good people. We are people who strive every day to do good. It takes a conscious effort to extend goodwill onto others. And despite our meddling, Christian is still a monster who is solely at fault for the decisions made in their personal life. Let me give you an example. Let's say I made a video on, Daquan Wilshire. And in my video about Daquan, I ruthlessly taunt him. That nigga hairline look like the top of a Prius. How you pushing 30 at 5'6"? You too old to be looked down at, big fella. I hope that nigga has to make an important speech and his dick is bricked up, BBW fucker. And in response to my video, Daquan decides to end his existence. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Should I feel responsible for his decision to commit sewer slide? No. Let me ask a serious question. What should constitute the feeling of empathy towards another human being? Should we feel personally responsible for someone else's personal decisions between our own influence weighed against their lack of willpower? In the case of Christian, can we really make the judgment that our meddling is in direct correlation with her decision making? While we supposedly had a tremendous impact on her as a person, should we look at Christian in a different light simply because there was one known series of events that transpired after our input was put into a situation that otherwise might have died down? Would we be putting her in a different perspective had she chosen not to enact on these urges that have long since been foreshadowed by her years before this moment, and she allowed bygones to solely be laid to being bygones? I have to bring this up. It wasn't in the original script, but upon discovering this, I had to double down on my statement. Morality is subjective. It has been brought to my attention that Chris Chan was manipulated this entire time by a woman named Isabella, who is currently being investigated by the state of Texas as not only a white supremacist cult leader, but a known sadist with a track record for killing animals and targeting trans people. Listen to this audio of her convincing Chris to assault her mother.
At least you have a stable relationship, because you know it's not going to end. Like, if anything happened, you'd still be mother and daughter. It's not going to, like, be explosive breakup, right?
Chris Chan, as we know, has a notorious weakness for attractive women, and this person knows that, and they happily and blatantly extorted that, as you can see here.
Bella manipulated Chris just like the Idea guys did, though whereas they primarily focused on impersonating characters from his comics he thinks are real, like Magi-chan, she focused on just being nice and female, which has always been his weakness.
She not only manipulated Chris into hacking into her own bank account to drain it of money, but she also planned to then blame it all on another autistic girl named Fiona, who she went as far as to use voice modification software to mimic, and blame said girl for grooming Chris into her mother. All because she is a self-proclaimed sociopath and ultimate troll. Whether she actually groomed Chris into being her mother or not is irrelevant. My point, which is now more prominent than ever, is that morality is subjective. We upload our reaction videos, post our memes on Twitter, where we happily berate this individual and mock their situation, dead name them, disrespect trans people as a group, antagonize them with no remorse because we've deemed ourselves adjudicators of this situation. And you know what's the worst part? The only difference between us and Isabella in this situation is a matter of opportunity. Because the same way we exploit Chris Chan for being a mentally ill and anti-social weirdo, she did the exact same thing. Called herself a troll even. And also wants to see Chris die, like I've seen so many people claim that they do as well. Morality is subjective, my friends. You are not a good person. And that's just it. Perspective. Morality is based in a subjective way that ultimately comes down to the most basic of basics. Imagine a room where one half of the room was painted black while the other half of the room was painted white. You yourself stared at pure whiteness back to back with another individual who stared at pure blackness. And despite standing with an individual who's in the exact same room, exact same location even, you both see two completely different things. Morality differentiates from person to person based off perspective. And calling people a piece of shit for pushing Chris Chan to this point while praising people for doing the same with another internet personality who for all intents and purposes virtually went down the same path is how your perspective shifts. Because while we did have an active hand in taunting these individuals, the horrific decisions they ultimately decided to enact are a consequence of their own doing. That is not a product of circumstance, that is a consequence of negligence. As I said with this other individual, just because bad things happen in life, that doesn't make us bad people. The decision to act on those urges is a choice. Just as it is a choice on our behalf to kick these people while they're down. Remember, the only difference between you and them, when you're willing to meet them at their level, is an opportunity to commit the same acts they did. And a lot of the niggas who troll Chris Chan are just potential Chris Chans who have Chris Chan as an example. That's really it. Look, man, we gotta do better. I know it's absolutely hilarious to laugh at someone else's misfortune and ruthlessly antagonize them to a point of neurotic cataclysm, but I would like to believe my fellow man and or woman is not such a self-indulgent piece of shit. We view an entire human being's existence as entertainment, no matter how tragic the source of said entertainment is. You niggas claim to be civilized, but this is the kind of shit I would expect from the Roman Empire, not Nathaniel, who is currently enjoying a meal with his family after being violently racist online and telling all girls to kill themselves.
Oh my goodness, what's that? This person's life is falling apart in spectacular fashion. Goodness me, I am here for it. I am wide awake. Let me witness this hellish descent into madness. What a hard creature. I mean, I'm a good person, which is why I find this so shocking. How do we prevent this in the future? Am I right? What's that, bro? You want me to be more socially responsible? Oh, fuck. Man. Hey, brother. I'm getting a little sleepy.
In conclusion, we as a people need to learn when there's a time to shitpost, get it? And when there's not a time to shitpost. We should cultivate an environment where these people have every opportunity to receive the help they desperately need. So should they still unfortunately commit these deplorable acts, at least I can then laugh at the muscle man memes guilt-free. This has been Mr. CJ Wizard Guy. Goodbye.